Welcome to PCMC. I'm Mike Bongiorno. I am joined once again by Vin Forte, the host of Anytime with Vin Forte podcast.
Yes.
The host of many things. What you got?
That's about it.
Oh, that's about it. Okay. You also work on a comedy show though.
Yeah, called The Special Without Brett Davis. That airs. It's on YouTube. If you look up The Special Without, it should be there. It airs live Wednesday nights at 11 on MNN in Manhattan, and then we upload to YouTube a week later. We're rolling out new episodes right now, so check those out. Some really interesting, weird things going on there.
If you are at all into like the Chris Gethard show and like...
Yeah, in fact,
yeah.
We're doing Sandwich Night again coming up in a couple weeks.
What's Sandwich Night? Sandwich
Night is the thing that Chris Gethard used to do when his show was in our time slot.
Right.
And it's basically fans come out, they bring sandwiches, and then we talk about sandwiches, and people Skype in and talk about sandwiches.
But it's for Thanksgiving, right?
But it's for Thanksgiving.
Fantastic.
And he's still doing it, even though his show is off the air.
Yeah.
He comes back every year, still does it, and he'll be doing it again this year in 2 weeks, I believe.
Fantastic. Very exciting. Maybe I might have to come.
You might have to come to Sandwich Night.
I might have to show up and be like, "Hey, I'm friends with Vin. I want to hang out with Chris Gethard and eat some sandwiches."
Yeah.
So that's very cool. Thank you for being here.
No, it's my pleasure.
What we're here to talk about?
Here to talk about. Sex.
No.
What?
We're here to talk about Series 11, Season 11 for you Americans, of Doctor Who.
Oh my God, it's back.
Starring Jodie Whittaker as
SJ Dub,
the Doctor. All right, wait a second now. Let's not get into that right away. Also starring Tosin Cole as Ryan, Mantip Gill as Yaz, and the lovely Bradley Walsh as Graham. Those are the three companions. I love Graham. So, if you're not familiar with Doctor Who, if you've always wanted to watch Doctor Who, right now is a jumping on point for realsies.
Yeah.
I've said before, jump on now, and I've been told that I'm not good at telling people that.
No, now is a good jump.
Now is because it's not just a new Doctor, it's new writers, it's new directors, it's it's a new show, and it's built for a new audience because every episode has been explaining things. You really could like start watching it now and you'll get it.
Yeah, and they're very much, it feels very much like a throwback to the original Doctor Who.
Yes.
Where it was more like educational.
Absolutely. Yeah, what's really interesting about this new season is it seems like, the last couple of years were the showrunner was Stephen Moffat, and he did the 11th Doctor and the 12th Doctor. And his version of the show was very silly, and there was a lot of like beating aliens with the power of love, and a lot of really convoluted sci-fi plots, and he was known for having huge gaping plot holes, and but people loved his sort of silly dark fairy tale version of it. And he was also the producer during the 50th anniversary. So he had the role of creating the 50th anniversary special, but also just being around in that time. So the thing with his show was almost every episode had Easter eggs to former... It was filled with what you call continuity porn. Like the Doctor would make a reference to an old episode from the 60s, and the nerds would love it. This new Doctor Who, what I love about it is how pared down it is. It's like they looked at it and said, what is the essence of this show? Like, what is this show? What's the one-line pitch for the show? It's about people who meet up with an alien and they travel through time and space and learn things and go on adventures. And that's what it is.
Yeah, there's no real ties to the past yet. Like,
Right.
I'm sure
there's been
those
no
will be introduced.
maybe
but-
there's been no Daleks, which is the classic villain.
Mhm.
And I believe this season doesn't have any Daleks.
No, yeah, they've made a point to say, and they've kept good on it so far, to kind of be like, we're going to be very minimal on stuff that we've done in the past.
Very, very minimal. I've counted very few references to the past. Maybe just like little lines of dialogue here and there. But no, it's been all new aliens. It's been all... What I've been loving about this season so far is during the last couple of seasons, it felt like Doctor Who was stuck. It was always looking back.
Mhm.
It was always looking to the past. Where now it's looking to the future. It's taking its premise and it's doing it to the best of its ability, and it's not trying to win you over with Easter eggs and quotes and winks at the old series
Trying
and
to
what
win
you
over
already
with
know.
Story.
Yeah, it's just
and
good
characters.
stories.
Yeah. Yeah, because Peter Capaldi's Doctor, as much as I feel like that was a good leap forward for the show,
Yeah.
he still was the victim. Like, Moffat's writing was interesting in the sense that he was very good at doing like one-off episodes
Yeah.
or like a one-off like two-parter,
Right.
but he couldn't really land like the big arcs.
No. And
So-
for some reason, he was obsessed with them.
yeah, so like that's where like the complications come in, because it's like, because for as much as he was flawed, like he did bring in a whole new generation of people at Doctor Who.
Absolutely.
And it's easy to see why.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it does feel like now's the time where, okay, let's cut it.
Yeah.
Let's go forward. Let's actually advance the show a little more.
Yeah.
But they're bringing, like I said before, they're bringing it back to the way it used to be, where it's like they did an episode of Rosa Parks already,
Right, which is very educational.
which was very educational. They
Got the history mostly right, that's a history people get wrong a lot.
yeah.
There's even an episode called Arachnids in the UK, which is about giant spiders, but I rewatched it today, and it's full of real facts about spiders. Like, you can learn science about spiders,
Yeah.
and some people, the negative people on Reddit are like, I don't like it, and I'm like, it's not hindering. If it's not hindering the show, who cares if it's got the educational bend?
yeah.
Like, that was its original heart, to teach you things. So what's wrong with it? It's still great stories.
yeah, like it kind of reminds me of when it first came back in 2005,
Yeah.
where it was very pared down. It tried to be very modern.
Yes.
And it was successful.
Right. The Stephen Moffat was the showrunner for Doctors 11 and 12, but before that, when it first came back in 2005, it was Russell T Davies, and he was there for Doctor 9 and 10. And I'm one of the fans that preferred his years because they were more drama. It was more about character development. It was less wild silliness. It was less everything's got to be funny and silly.
Well, also, Russell T Davies and Chris Chibnall, or at least right now it seems to be doing, two things that I really like that Moffat didn't do, or that I wish Moffat had done more, that Russell T Davies did. One, you just hit on it, which is he's very character-focused, and he's creating new characters.
Yes.
Like,
and
there's new creatures already.
Right. And they are characters. It's not, a lot of times with, every episode, because of its sort of anthology nature, every episode the Doctor goes to a new place. So there's always going to be special guests for every episode. But with Moffat, a lot of times those people were like jokes, or they were like silly one-note characters where they seem like people now.
Yeah, and also the big thing for me is that people are dying again.
Yes.
Like, you
There's
don't realize
narrative
how,
stakes.
Yeah, like there's narrative stakes. Like, it's such a small thing, but it was easily my biggest complaint about all the Moffat years.
Yeah.
Because when you have situations where there's a big bad guy and nobody dies, instantly you're like, so what were the stakes? Whereas
Right,
Russell
exactly.
T Davies, all the time, he made it clear that, the Doctor's going to try and fix the situation, but you still might not get out alive because he's just one person.
Right. People can die.
So there were actual stakes. It's like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And he brought and Moffat brought that back a little bit with Capaldi, but not to the extent that Chris Chibnall's doing. Like right out of the gate, Chris Chibnall's killing people every episode.
Right. And it's not gratuitous. It's just this ties into something else, which is during the Moffat years, the Doctor was a fucking superhero that was perfect and knew everything, and now with Jodie Whittaker, the 13th Doctor. She's still the Doctor. She's alien. She's lived many lives. She's very smart, but she doesn't know everything. Not everybody that meets her knows who she is.
Yeah.
And we see her have emotions. We see her get frustrated by things. We see her get confused by things. They've made the Doctor, they've taken away the sort of omnipotence of the Doctor, which gives way more stakes to the story, because when the Doctor is perfect and the Doctor will get out of everything, it's just like, well, how is he going to get out of it? Well, the Doctor never sweats. This Doctor sweats, and she gets frustrated, and she's like a character again.
Yeah.
Which is, again, adds so much in terms of the drama. It should be about drama. It's an hour-long weekly show, and Russell T Davies did it as drama, and I think Chris Chibnall, the current showrunner, he's made it a drama again. And I think even though it's got science fiction and fantasy, it should be a drama. You should care about it. You should care about the characters.
Yeah, absolutely. Even I thought her debut episode was brilliant.
Well,
I'm not going to say it had problems. It's one of the weaker of the 4 or 5 that have been out so far. But I don't think it hits the highs of Matt Smith's.
Well, okay, good. I'm glad you
episode.
brought this up, because I wanted to I kind of wanted to go through them in order. Episode 1 was called "The Woman Who Fell to Earth," written by Chris Chibnall and directed by Jamie Childs. And this is the first episode of this series 11, and this is when we're introduced to Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah, and it does a lot of stuff right. It's the kind of episode where it's not perfect, but it's not supposed to be perfect, because it's putting a lot of things in place.
Right.
It's introducing a lot of characters very quickly.
Right.
Which is something that Doctor Who has not had to do in a while. So it's not a secret why I prefer Matt Smith's debut episode.
Right. Yeah, in the more current Doctor Who, it's usually one companion that is and it's the Doctor and the companion. Where what we have now is almost like the very original series where it's a team.
Yeah.
Team TARDIS. And besides the Doctor, you've got Graham, who is a sort of older man. You've got his grandson, or his grandson by marriage, Ryan, who's African American, and that comes up in the Rosa Parks episode a lot. And then you've got Yaz, who is a school friend of Ryan, so they know each other, and she is
traffic cop.
She's a traffic cop, and she's from Pakistani origins. And
that's right, we're getting multicultural.
SJ Dubs. And so what happens in episode 1? What's the story of episode 1? It's in contemporary time, which is usually how episode 1 is.
Yeah, it's in Sheffield, England. Doctor falls to Earth. There's this blob creature that one of them finds in the woods. Yeah. And then the Doctor is missing her TARDIS. She doesn't have her screwdriver.
Yeah, the Doctor sort of, there's a lot of the opening is on a train. And there's this sort of blobby thing on a train that it's going to kill Graham and his wife. And as it's about to hit them, the Doctor falls through the ceiling.
Yeah.
And actually, they did something very rare for Doctor Who, which is when she pops back up into frame, you hear a little bit of the Doctor Who theme, which is really, really rare. They never play the theme of the show in the body of the show. The but you hear it when she arrives, and a lot of Doctors, when they first arrive, she's sort of shot out of a cannon. She doesn't exactly remember who she is. She just knows that there's an adventure, and she immediately starts helping people. And then Ryan and Yaz, who have sort of they've met each other. They come to the train to meet.
Yeah,
Graham.
all the parties find things at different points, and they all meet in the same central location.
Right.
Hold on there, please, madam. I need you to do as I say. This could be a potential crime
Why are you calling me
scene.
madam?
Because you're a woman.
Am I? Does it suit me?
What?
Oh, yeah. I remember. Sorry, half an hour ago I was a white-haired Scotsman.
When's the next train due?
This is the last one back.
But the doors are locked. How did you both get in? Driver's window was smashed in. What's your name? PC Khan, Hallamshire Police.
Name, not title.
Yasmin Khan. Yaz to my friends. Can I have your name, please?
When I can remember it.
You don't know your own name?
Of course I know it. Just can't remember it. It's right there on the tip of my... What's that?
Tongue?
Tongue! Smart boy. Biology. What did she call you? Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan Sinclair.
Good name. Are you a doctor, Ryan?
No.
Shame. I'm looking for a doctor.
And then from there, I'm not going to say it pulls a bait and switch, but it does something very interesting that I like, but can understand how some people might see the middle of the episode as like dragging a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's not what you would expect, where it gets into like a character study for the rest of the episode. Where like not a lot of action happens. It's a lot of, why are you here? Oh, well, I'm here because I'm friends with them. Why are you here? Well, we're a couple and we're having trouble with our grandson. And then all those plots are sort of pushed forward by the end.
But I like that the stakes aren't ridiculously high.
No, I love that.
Like, because when the stakes are crazy high, there are no stakes. Like, a lot of the episodes during the Stephen Moffat era, which I like the Stephen Moffat era. I love the show, but part of being a fan of the show, part of the fandom is comparing the different eras and what directions they take. And a lot of episodes in those eras was the Doctor saving the universe from something.
Yeah.
And so far, there's been no saving the universe. There's been just simple little things, simple little bad guys, or things to be
it's less
fixed.
saving the universe and more like, I gotta save my relationship with my grandson.
Right. And you
Which is
kind
like
of
way more compelling.
exactly, and you have that. It's kind of convoluted, but in this first episode, there's the sort of blob monster, but then chasing the blob monster is this alien that basically he's Predator. He comes down to Earth to hunt people, and the blob monster thing was something that he sent ahead of time to.
Yeah, it's a typical like first episode like stock villain kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's an interesting looking villain because when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's the Tooth Fairy because when he kills you, he takes your teeth. Mm-hmm. So he's got like he's wearing armor. He looks a little like the Guyver, but then he takes off his helmet and you see he's got a blue face, but he's got teeth in his face because they saved the teeth. So that's your villain. Kind of weird, kind of Doctor Who-y.
Yeah,
but it's mostly about let's get a taste of who this doctor is, how she operates, what she's like.
Don't even give her the TARDIS yet.
Yeah, again, it's so pared down.
No opening titles.
No opening titles. No TARDIS. For most of it, she doesn't even have a sonic screwdriver. She ends up making her own at some point, which is, I think, a really cool thing that this series did.
Yeah, because every time it's just like, where's my sonic screwdriver? We made you a new one.
Yeah, the TARDIS will make it. It'll pop out of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, she makes it. And yeah, that's what's so cool about that first episode, where it was just like I said, it's like, what's the idea? What's this show about? We're going to do the show. Forget all the accoutrement. Forget the TARDIS. Forget all the things that the fans are waiting for. Because they know that's what the fans always want to know what the new TARDIS looks like. They want to hear the new theme song. They want to see the new Sonic. It's all of these like checklists of things. And they just did a good episode of TV. Mm-hmm. You know, in some ways, Doctor Who is kind of like a procedural, even though it's not a cop show, in that it's, there's a problem and the Doctor's going to figure out who it is and how to fix it. And they did exactly that. By the way, I love the bad guy's name is Zim Shaw, but the Doctor is like, what, Tim Shaw? And he's like, no, Zim Shaw. And she's like, Tim Shaw. And even in the credits, he's
Tim Shaw.
He's Tim Shaw, which is, I think, that's been a funny like running thing in this season where the Doctor gets your name wrong, which I think is kind of funny.
Credits.
Yeah. So The first episode, okay, I should say at this point, spoiler alerts, because we're talking about the first 4 episodes of Series 11. So at the end of the episode,
she creates a thing that's basically going to shoot her, hopefully, back into the TARDIS.
Right.
And then she
Well,
does
before we get to that, I want to say Graham's wife, Grace, dies.
Yeah.
So now he's mourning. And that's Ryan's grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
So now him and Ryan, who have been lived together and they didn't have a great relationship, he wants Ryan to call him granddad and he won't. Mm-hmm. Now they are missing the matriarch of their family, and then you've got Yaz. So you've got these 3 people are the companions. Mm-hmm. And actually something amazing is at the end we see Grace's funeral, and you see the doctor at the funeral.
Yeah.
And I can't think of any other episode where you see the doctor stick around and go to someone's funeral.
Yeah,
again, it feels like
yeah.
It's stupid to call a show about time travel real, but it's real in that the emotions are real and that the stakes feel real.
Yeah, and again, that was the thing that I said was missing the most from Stephen Moffat's era.
Yeah, and so as you were saying, at the end,
she's about to she's rigged something up in a factory, and it's gonna shoot her into her TARDIS, and she's like, "Okay, wish me luck." And she does it, and then boom, now they're all in space. And it's like, what? Like, really good cliffhanger.
Right. Kind of remind me of the old show where, like, one episode would go right into the next.
Yeah.
So it was a cool cliffhanger, and then we go into episode 2. Oh, one thing I want to say before we move into episode 2 is the look of the show is absolutely gorgeous. The cinematography is cinematic, and it does this thing where, you know, there's been times where the show has been really colorful, where it's not colorful now, but it seems like in some ways almost
saturated
or a little like monochromatic, like episodes have like a golden hue or like a sort of bluish hue, and you know within that you see other colors, but it's got this very sort of, you know, beautiful, almost like not over the top like David Fincher, but there's a color scheme. Every episode seems to have its own color scheme.
Yeah.
And it's very impressionistic. There's beautiful light. There's amazing sweeping shots. It just looks better than it's ever looked.
Yeah. It's definitely like, hey, new production crew. Like, it's definitely
right. New look.
New look.
Even a lot of close-ups, which the old series didn't have excessive close-ups. You know, it had close-ups when you needed close-ups for the narrative of the story. But this new show, just stylistically, it shoots a lot of close-ups. And that, too, creates a sort of intimacy with the characters.
Oh, yeah.
Just like you've got this close proximity to their faces. It just makes them people.
Oh, yeah. Something that just the reboot of Doctor Who since 2005 has done is, like, every season it looks better than the last. Like, it's just...
Right.
At, like, it's funny to go back now and look at the first Eccleston season.
Yes.
Where they had the weird, like, soft lighting and...
Well, it's got that, like, it's almost like that... I don't know what the effect is, but it's like it's sort of the cliche of when we think of British shows. Like, it all looks blurry.
It's like the British TV effect.
Yeah, it's blurry. I don't know what that's for. It might be... What it might
for the type of TV, maybe?
Like... I think what it might be is sometimes they put like filters, like physical filters on the cameras of digital cameras to make them, to try to ape more of a film look.
Yeah.
And I think that might be it.
Maybe.
But it looks better now than ever. But yeah, it has gotten better. It's also, we should say, more popular now than ever. The ratings are high. The first episode was the highest ratings ever in America. And the highest rating, I think, in 10 years, counting Christmas specials or something.
Yeah, which is, I'm not going to say it's completely shocking, but it felt like there wasn't as much promotion behind this season.
Yeah. And
for it to still get those big ratings is great.
Especially here. It's never been more popular in America than it is right now. Yeah. And they've had other years where they pushed it in America more.
Oh, that second Matt Smith season, they had a huge...
Right, there was
billboards.
And MTA bus signs. And this has been way huger than that. And even like, you know, after the premiere, it dipped a little bit, which is normal. Even like where episode like 3 and 4 are at is higher than most other seasons have ever gotten. In America, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it's huge right now in America. By the way, can I ask you, how do you watch the show?
I usually watch it on. Right now, I watch it through legal means.
Oh, hello.
I stream.
I watch it through. I've ordered it on Amazon Prime, so you order the season
the day later.
Yeah, you get it like the next day, even though like you can order the season even though it's not out yet. And that's because I can't watch it on BBC America anymore. These shows, when they air in Britain, don't have ads, but when they air in America, they must have ads. So they're not written with act breaks in them like American shows. So they just crowbar the ads in whenever they think they can, and it always...
It's always jarring because it's not supposed to be
It's not supposed to be there, and the ads are so long, and they do so many ad breaks, and they do this thing where you think the show's come back, but it's just like a fake out, and like it'll be a scene from what's coming up, and then it'll just say on the bottom of the screen, "Stay tuned for more." And I always fall for that.
Yeah.
And after like the first episode, and being so frustrated with the goddamn commercials, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And now I watch it.
Now you know why I don't have cable.
I can't watch it. I just cannot watch it. It was killing it for me. I can't watch it on TV, at least in America. So the next episode is called The Ghost Monument. It's written by Chris Chibnall and directed by Mark Tonderai. This is the first episode of the series that has an opening.
Yeah.
What do you think of the opening? By opening,
like
I mean the classic Doctor Who theme and...
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The graphics and look of it harken back to the original show from like the 60s.
Yes.
And the music is taking a cue more from the 80s.
Yes. It's very... Again...
It's a good mix of styles.
Again, I keep repeating myself. It's pared down.
It's very pared down.
For the last couple of series, every year it would get more bombastic and exciting.
It would get more Inception noisy.
Yeah, and just like, just more like just kept pushing the fucking octane. And now it's just like, hey, this is a show where someone like it feels. It's funny you say it reminds you of the 80s. I get more of an original vibe from it because it's definitely got a weirdness to it that's unique to now, but it's sort of simple. It's not trying to excite you so much. And it's got a weird like lava lamp look.
Yeah.
The opening is always some sort of variation of what they call the time vortex or the time tunnel, which is what the TARDIS goes through to get where it's going. And this was cool. It kind of has like a kaleidoscope effect, which is, again, the original had. And it's purpley. I like it.
Yeah, it's not like the like the Matt Smith one where it's like we're in fire now.
Yeah. It's like so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's also the music is new now too. The person who did the music for every series before now of the new series, left. So we got new music, which also I think gives it new life. So the Ghost Monument. We're on an alien planet, which is typical for how these series go. We meet the Doctor and we meet the companions on Earth, and then almost always the first place the Doctor takes the companions is someplace very foreign to them.
Yeah.
We see that the team has been split up. They were all out in space, but they were captured they were saved by two different ships. The Doctor and Yaz on one ship, and Ryan and Graham on another ship. And we find out that both ships are crashing, but we find out that both ships, the pilots of both ships are in competition with each other.
Yeah,
imagine the Amazing Race, but through the whole galaxy, and what you win is all this insane riches.
Yeah.
And so that's the story that the Doctor and the crew finds themselves in. And it's called the Ghost Monument because they crash land on this planet called Desolation, and there's nothing there anymore. There were people there, but now life is all gone. We see a character named Elias or Ellis, and he's the one who runs the race, but he's a hologram. And he said, okay, this is the last planet. We started off with thousands of people. Now we're down to these two people, and the Doctor's crew is just there with them. You have to travel across the planet and get to the Ghost Monument. And the Ghost Monument appears every 1,000 cycles, they say. And the Doctor's like, show me the Ghost Monument, and it's the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Because the TARDIS is like lost. So that was I was genuinely surprised by that. That one got me. I was like, oh, so clever.
Yeah,
I did
it's
not
the
see that
TARDIS.
coming. That it was going to be the TARDIS.
Oh, you TARDIS.
So the doctor. So the two contestants, which their names are Agstrom and Enzo. Enzo is a male, and he's sort of like I don't care about anybody. I just want to win this thing. And Agstrom she lost her family, and she's fighting for her people. She wants to go back and like help her people, and she's sort of the nicer one. And the team, the TARDIS team, joins Agstrom and Enzo to travel across this planet, and you get some science fiction-y sci-fi.
Yeah, it's a pretty standard episode.
Yeah, to me it's the weakest of the series so far. Not that
Yeah.
it's bad, it just wasn't great for me.
Yeah, this is the one concern I have about the new series so far, is that it could feel a little dull at times.
I think Chris Chibnall, who he's known for doing Broadchurch, which is this very heavy drama. He's great with drama, but he doesn't. He might not be great with sci-fi.
Yeah.
Which is where Moffat was really great. So we'll see. To me, I still like this episode, but there's always one of every season that's like, this is not the best one. Well, what happens? They make their way across the land. They find these robots that are trying to shoot them. There's a really funny moment where Ryan picks up a gun and he's like, let's go shoot at them. And she's like, I don't use guns, which is... The Doctor always says that she doesn't use guns, but much like Batman, you could find images of her using guns.
Yeah.
But the Doctor doesn't use guns, at least now in the storyline. And he's like, no, I've been training with this for video games. And he goes out and he shoots at them, and he's going crazy. And then they come back to life immediately, and he starts screaming this high-pitched scream and runs back inside. And it's it's edited in a really funny way. It's like a one-shot, like, little joke. Like, he runs out, shoots them, they shoot back at him, he screams and runs away. It's a funny bit. There's a little bit of arguing between the two contestants of the show, of the race. And, they make their way. The thing that's cheap to me is one of the villains is, like, Rags.
Yeah.
There's like you see dirty Rags,
And
like,
you're like, oh, what's that? It's the villain.
yeah, like when the night falls, the Rags come to life and they whisper at you, Voldemort style, and they're like, and they wrap themselves around you. It's kind of weird. There were two things, by the way, that worried me in this episode because they felt Moffat-y to me. One was that we find out that the aliens that destroyed that planet were the same alien species that was the alien from the first episode. Okay. And I was like, oh no, is this
going to be a big arc?
Is this going to be a big arc? Is this alien going to be in every episode? But they haven't referred to them again since. And the second was when one of the rag creatures is talking to the Doctor, it refers to... When one of the rag creatures is talking to the Doctor, it calls the Doctor the timeless child. And we see what's hidden even from yourself. And she's like, what are you talking about? It's clearly a setup for something. And the reason that worries me is Moffat was all about that. Every series, Moffat would be like, there's some secret in the Doctor's past that nobody knows, and I'm going to tell you. And I'm like, what's this timeless child thing? And of course, people online are coming up with terrible theories. It's it's always like people they think from the past it's never going to be. People are like, oh, it's Susan. Everyone always wants Susan to come back.
Listen, Susan's dead.
Yeah, Susan was the Doctor's first companion. It was the Doctor's granddaughter.
I mean, she's alive. She's, 90, though?
Yeah, the actress is still alive. But Susan's not coming back. But anyway, so that worried me. Well,
They're not rubbing it in. So, if it is a thing, it'll be in the last, 2 episodes.
What we see in the first 2 episodes that I think is really interesting because the show doesn't belabor the point that the Doctor had been a male always and now is a female. Mm-hmm. But we see the Doctor go toe-to-toe with male villains. And you get the vibe from the male villains that they're not as intimidated by her as she was used to.
Yeah.
But she still fucking gives it to them and gives them shit. Like the Enzo, the shitty guy, he takes a nap at one point and then later on he's yelling at her and he's like, I don't want to help these other people. And she's like, go take one of your heroic naps. I was like, that's a good line. That was a good bit. So they burn the rags. What more is there to say? I mean, the design of it's a sand planet, like in every Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't, the rags weren't too exciting. The only design element that I really liked in the episode were the 2 ships of the 2 contestants were very H.R. Geiger looking.
Mm-hmm.
They had that coolness. And when we first see Yaz and the Doctor on their ship, it's one shot that goes out, follows Yaz out, and then you see the Doctor and the pilot yelling at each other.
Yeah.
And then it circles around the Doctor, and you get the sense that this is a tiny little ship, and it's like shaking, and really cool camera work, really cool like handheld work. But other than that, there wasn't very much. The thing also with Doctor Who is they don't have all the budget in the world, so you can see like there's always one cheap episode, and this episode looked kind of cheap.
I've lost my key. Sorry.
But it's an old police box.
Sort of. Not really.
You expect us all to fit inside there?
Yep. At the same time. Wanna try?
Okay.
Oh, word of warning. I left it in a bit of a mess.
I might have cried a little bit. At the end, the contestants, they win together, and they convince the guy, like, which is typical Doctor Who, they convince the guy to call them both the winner because they don't end up beating each other. And then they disappear. The guy runs the race, snaps his fingers, and they disappear, and it's just the Doctor and the companions in the middle of this planet. And they're like, well, we're going to die if we have to spend another night here. And then you hear the TARDIS noise. And the Doctor's like, oh, please, give me this. Come to daddy. Oh, I mean, mommy. Which is, she makes little jokes like that now and again. And then the TARDIS shows up, and there's this beautiful, like, swelling music. Because remember, if you're a fan of the show, you know that the TARDIS is sentient, and the TARDIS is alive. So it's like a character coming back. And she runs up to the TARDIS and touches its exterior and says, I know you. I've missed you. And, like, the TARDIS always...
Lesbian agenda.
Uh-oh, SJ Dubs. And as always, the TARDIS always looks a little different. To the casual fan, probably not, because it's always blue box. But they always make it look a little different for each Doctor. I don't know. My nerd really took. I teared a little bit out of one eye. I was like, it's the TARDIS. I looked at the TARDIS tattoo in my arm, and I was like, there you are, old girl. Then we see the new TARDIS interior. What do you think about the new interior?
It looks good. It looks kind of like a throwback to Eccleston's TARDIS a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of sepia.
Yeah,
it's also very
it's really very organic.
Yeah, there's a lot of crystals.
Yeah,
it reminds me of Krypton. It's crystally, and even her sonic screwdriver is crystally, which makes me think that they designed them before they wrote the episode where she makes it herself. Because if she makes it herself, why does it look like what the TARDIS looks like?
Yeah.
But one of the cool things is, there's always tons of buttons and weird shit. Like, to start the TARDIS, there's a lever that has a sand hourglass on it, and you turn that, and that starts it. And in the middle, there's a crystal like TARDIS, like looks like a TARDIS toy that spins, which is like there's an image of the TARDIS in the TARDIS, which I thought was pretty cool, and also a cookie dispenser.
Yeah, because why not?
Right, which by the way, I forget what type of cookie it is, but the designer like went up to Jodie Whittaker and was like, "Hey, what's your favorite
cookie?
What's your favorite cookie?" And like he put it in for her, and she was surprised by it. And we get in the TARDIS and we go off to another adventure.
Yep, Rosa Parks.
Yes, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. Oh, one thing I want to say. With this season, there's been a lot of the sets are like big cavernous spaces, like when they're in some underground like bunker in episode 2, and then even in episode 1 when she's in the place where she's making her screwdriver. It's just, I don't know, it's a cool look. I like that. There's a lot of depth of field.
Yeah,
the show has I don't know. It's interesting because there's close-ups, but then there's like great big sets. So now we go to episode 3, which is called Rosa, written by Chris Chibnall and Mallory Blackman, and directed by Mark Tondari, who directed the last episode, and guest starring Vinette Robinson as Rosa Parks.
There you go.
This might be, now I say this a lot because I'm hyperbolic, this might be the best episode of Doctor Who ever, just dramatically speaking.
Yeah.
What did you think of Rosa?
I thought it was great. I thought it could have gone horribly wrong.
Yes.
It could have been like, oh fuck, we got to make sure Rosa Parks gets to the back of the bus. Like, but it didn't do that.
Well, you know what I was worried about? That they would make Rosa Parks not the person she was, and they would make it like the Doctor inspires her to do
Right.
it, therefore taking the achievement away from her.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
not
gonna
what
do it.
happens.
I'm going to go on the back of the bus.
No, they portray Rosa Parks. They portray her in an accurate way that she's often not portrayed, which is she was already part of the movement. She was friends with Martin Luther King. She worked for the NAACP.
Yeah.
And so it was, people have this myth of her where she just one day, she was just a seamstress, and one day she was just like, fuck this, I'm not getting up.
Yeah.
And it was a planned thing. In the show, they don't make the end. That's the one place where the show gets it wrong, but on purpose. You know why it gets it wrong, because it's more dramatic. They make it like she's just inspired to do that in the end instead of having it pre-planned. But they do get her right. And all that the Doctor and the team have to do is just make sure that history occurs.
Right.
You know what it felt like? Quantum Leap.
It did.
It was like something's got to happen here. We've got to make sure the thing happens.
Yeah, and again, it was a lot of like you learn stuff in it. Like
I learned. Yeah, you learned.
I didn't know that black people, they didn't just pay and then get to the back. They had to like pay, get off the bus,
Then go in the back.
then go in the back.
Right. And something about Rosa Parks that a lot of people get wrong is she didn't sit in the white section. She sat in the black section, but at that time, if the white section was crowded and white passengers came on the bus, the white passenger could sit in the black, which they, I'm putting quotes on this, they called it the colored section.
Yeah.
The white person could sit in the black section, and the black passenger had to get up for the white person. And that's what she didn't do.
Yeah.
She wouldn't get up. She was in the black section. So, yeah, and I didn't know the name of the bus driver.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they've got the whole bus driver. You've got an idea of what Montgomery, Alabama was like at that time.
Mm-hmm. And because there's like contemporary black people going back.
Yes.
You had incidents where the Doctor's like, no, we have to play along. Like,
yeah, well, talk about that first scene with Ryan, because it was like, we're not playing around in this episode.
Yeah, he... there's kind of like some hassling going on.
Right. Where they're walking...
They're walking along, and Ryan kind of gets hassled, and it really has shades of... Like, that's sort of the one moment in the episode, and this isn't a knock, but it's just like... It felt like them commenting on what's going on now with police brutality.
Which is totally fine, because we do have a president that's a fucking Nazi now, who calls himself a nationalist and is constantly whistleblowing to his Nazi fans. So you wish that this show was more in the past and didn't feel so contemporary.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but Ryan, lives now, so, and Ryan's kind of the most sort of ignorant of them. He's only supposed to be 19,
mm-hmm.
and there's a white couple. They're walking by, and the woman drops her gloves, and Ryan politely picks up the glove and taps the woman on the shoulder and goes, "Oh, excuse me, miss, you dropped your glove." And then her husband smacks Ryan across the face and is like, "How dare you touch a white woman? We'll hang you. You'll be hanged by your neck."
You fucking get it.
And Rosa Parks is there, and she just comes and she sort of diffuses the situation, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry about them. They're from out of town." And she's like, "You guys gotta like." You gotta get out of here. Like, you can't. This is, because they have English accents. She's like, it's not like that here. But he gets slapped across the face by this angry. It goes everywhere except the N-word. They don't say the N-word, which I'm fine with. You don't need the N-word because the hate is there, the vitriol is there,
and it's one of the only moments that Rosa Parks really interacts with them.
Yeah,
which is very good.
Right? She mentions Emmett Till. She goes, "You saw what they did to Emmett Till, which was a real person." Mm-hmm. Emmett Till. A northerner who, the story was that he whistled at a white woman and he got beaten to death. We now know that he didn't even really whistle. That was a lie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tension. The villain's weird. The villain is an alien from the future who was in like space jail and now is out of space jail, and he's sort of a white supremacist. So he's come back in time using a time manipulator, which is what Captain Jack Harkness has.
Yeah.
Cheap. How do she call it? Cheap and dirty time travel.
Yep.
And he wants to stop Rosa Parks from doing what she did. So all he can't kill anybody because he's got a disabler or whatever in his brain that the prison gave him where he can't hurt anybody. So he's just trying to thwart history. He's just trying to move things so she doesn't start the boycott and the civil rights movement doesn't kick off the way it does.
Yeah.
So that, and what's interesting is he looks like a greaser. He's an alien, but he's got on like a leather jacket and like a white tee.
He's very Lobo.
A lot of people online said he looks like Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And his name is what's the name of this? Oh, Cresco. Cresco, and he's the bad guy, but also like a lot of the bad guys are just the people. Like there's a scene where they're in a diner and they're talking about their plan, and then it gets very silent, and they're like, "Oh, I think people are looking at us." And then a waitress comes over and says, "We don't serve your kind here," to Ryan, the African American. And then Yaz, who's Pakistani, she goes, "We don't serve Mexicans either." And which is funny because she's not a Mexican.
Yeah.
So they leave, and you see all these people leering at them, and the bad guys are the racists.
Yeah.
Which is,
Which, like, if people have a problem with that episode, it's like, I guess you're a racist then.
Right. Well, a lot of people, the typical shit you get from the neckbeards was like, what's with your agenda? Why the
agenda of not being racist?
Yeah. Why she got to go and meet Rosa Parks
that,
right away? And I love it because in the Stephen Moffat era, he doesn't meet a lot of historical figures. Other than the big one is Van Gogh.
Yeah, Van Gogh, Winston Churchill.
Right. And
apparently like a good friend of his. Apparently.
Yes. Oh, and the most fucking ridiculous episode ever, Robin Hood, who's a fictional character, but they make him a real character.
Yeah, they make it off like, maybe
he was a legend.
Real.
Yeah,
I'm a legend.
Yeah, but that was a bigger part of the old show where you'd meet people like, the 10th Doctor met Shakespeare and all these various people through time. So I liked that it was a history episode, and I liked that it was a historical figure episode. It also had a lot of music that wasn't just like theme music. Like there's songs in it.
They sprung for the rights.
Yeah, it begins with gospel music, which is cool. And in the end, when Rosa refuses to stand up and gets arrested, we hear a song called "Rise Up" by Andra Day, which also plays over the credits. And I can't think of any other Doctor Who episode where there's a song playing over the credits and not the theme.
Yeah.
If you don't stand, I'm gonna have you arrested.
You may do that.
You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, and I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,008 times again.
Again, this was a beautiful episode. Martin Luther King is in it because she was friends with him. I like that there's so many companions because they split up and do things. And I like it. I like Yaz and Ryan are doing one thing, and then Graham's doing something else, and it's fun.
Well, it also creates an urgency when it's just like the Doctor and Clara, for example.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but it definitely lacks a certain something.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I'm with the Doctor, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. I like that it's a team. I like that it's a team.
Yeah.
At first, I was worried about Bradley Walsh's character because I thought, before the show was even started, I thought, all right, they got an old white guy in here. Are they worried that the fans won't be able to deal with a young female Doctor? But he doesn't play, he's not wise at all.
Yeah.
He plays like a sort of average Joe. He's just sort of a working man.
Yeah.
He's sort of an old chap. So he doesn't really play that role. And, the end scene is very powerful. I cry. I'll be honest, I cried again. Because the end scene is very powerful because they, in the end, they make all they get everything, they fix it, they get everything on track so history will happen the way it's supposed to. But they want to get off the bus, and then they're going to get off the bus, and the Doctor realizes that they need to stay because if they leave, they'll open up 3 seats. And then she might not have to get up. And the Doctor says to Graham, like, we can't leave, we've got to stay. And there's this very interesting thing, which I think is very realistic if time travel were a thing, where he gets nervous and he's like, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to watch this happen. And they kind of have to witness it.
Yeah.
And you see Rosa Parks do what she does, but you see the doctor's face in close-up, just like not turning her head, but observing it, just listening to it. And it's interesting to see the doctor have to hold back and not be active.
Yeah.
And just have to observe, that's happened a few times in the show where the doctor can't do anything. The doctor must just observe and can't save the day or do the thing that they want to do.
But more often recently, it's been right before the big event is about to happen. The doctor's like, well, we got to get out of here.
Right, we're done. We did our work.
Or they just disregard it completely. Just like, fuck with time.
Right. Seeing her get arrested was very dramatic and kind of inspirational. And it was just cool. It was just like super cool. I was like, this show is dramatic. I'm like caring about this stuff again.
Yeah.
What did you think of the actress who played Rosa Parks?
I thought she was great.
You know, she's been on Doctor Who before, which is true for everybody.
Yeah.
She was in the episode 24, which was a Martha episode.
Yes.
Even actually Bradley Walsh was a silly villain in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
I remember hearing
He was
about
like a
that,
clown kind of guy. Yeah, it was intense. Actually, you know what the most intense scene was? They are in a hotel room sort of trying to figure out their plan, and then there's a loud knock on the door. So Yaz and Ryan, being people of color, go hide in the bathroom. And the doctor and Graham act like they're a couple, and this sort of racist cop comes in, and this guy was great. This actor, like, you believed it. He's like chewing and spitting on seeds, and he's like, I heard y'all with some mongrels. And the doctor's like, I don't know any people of that description.
Yeah.
And he's like, what you got in the bathroom? If you it's just like you're so nervous, like that he's gonna find them in the bathroom, and it's like, this is a scene that it would typically be an alien, but it's just a white cop.
It's a racist.
It's just a racist cop from Alabama, and it's
just
the scariest moment.
It's just all of our uncles.
And one of my favorite things ever is the doctor starts writing on the wall, and Graham goes, "Hey, you're not Banksy," and she goes, "Or am I?"
Yeah, the doctor is Banksy.
In my head canon, the doctor is Banksy now. I love the idea that the doctor might be Banksy. And then we have episode 4, Arachnids in the UK.
Yeah, spiders, baby.
Yeah, written by Chibnall again and directed by Sally Afrahman.
And
by the
featuring Sex and the City's Chris Noth.
Chris Noth. Yeah, Big himself, playing Donald Trump, basically.
Yeah, playing a rich fucking aristocratic landowner.
He's even doing like a little bit of a Trump impression,
yeah,
which I fucking love. Like if you hate the SJ Dubs, then sorry, Doctor's not for you anymore. I love that the bad guy was like a Trump.
Yeah.
Are you Ed Sheeran? Is he Ed Sheeran? Everyone talks about Ed Sheeran roundabout now, don't they?
I am not Ed Sheeran. I am Jack Robertson, and this is my hotel. Just one hotel in an incredibly successful chain of hotels, which is just one small part of my business portfolio as featured in Fortune Global 500. Does that ring a bell?
Should I look impressed right now? Is that impressive?
He's running for president in 2020.
Ed Sheeran?
No, him.
This episode I was worried about when I heard the title, because it has such a Doctor Who-y title. Like I was like, oh shit, what's this gonna be? And it is giant spiders, but you know what my skin crawled when I watched this episode, and I'm not being hyperbolic. People always go, ooh, it'll make your skin crawl. Like literally my skin crawled because they did something so smart, which is they didn't make it look like weird sci-fi spiders. They look realistic. They look like real spiders, just bigger. So when you see them,
you're like, oh fuck.
You're like, oh wow, that's a real spider. And it even like walks like, you know, like the way a spider walks, so like one leg goes back and one leg, like that horrible walk that they do.
Yeah.
Like you really are like watching it, and they're not even really bad. They're just like just normal spiders, but they're too big.
Yeah.
And it all takes place in a hotel that has not opened yet because the Donald Trump type character played by Chris Noth is he's opening this luxury hotel, but really it's over a dump, and
there's like sewage that infected the spiders.
Right, and the spiders grew big, and now the whole thing, there's a giant spider in the hotel, and there's There's big spiders like the size of dogs that swarm, and then there's there's another big spider that's like the size of like a deer, and then there's like the final big spider who's gigantic, like the size of a room. And there's a lot of running around in there. I think it's very funny. I think Chris Noth was really funny.
Yeah, I think this is the episode that should have assuaged a lot of people's concerns if they were worried that the show was maybe getting too educational.
Yeah,
Like,
but I learned a lot about spiders. They told
that's the
you
thing. They did it. Yeah, they did it
because
really
there's a
good
scientist
job.
in it, and she tells you about spiders. I learned that spiders don't like the smell of garlic.
Yeah,
and vinegar.
Who the fuck knew that?
Did you know that? Did you know that, folks? You can put vinegar on the ground, and the spider won't cross it.
Didn't know it. Now you know. Rub vinegar on your doors.
Yeah. We also, in terms of the overall story, it's back in contemporary time. The Doctor has brought the companions home, and it's that thing where it's like they're home, but Graham is mourning his wife.
Yeah.
Every time he goes home, he feels alone and empty, and
So then they all want to come back to the time.
so yeah, it's the moment where they choose to be the companions.
Yeah.
And we meet Yaz's family and Yaz's mom. Yaz's mom was going to be the general manager of the hotel, but he fires her because she interrupts him talking, and he's fucking Donald Trump. And the mom's name is Nadja, and the Donald Trump character keeps calling her Nadia, and the Doctor keeps calling her Yaz's mom, which is a funny ongoing joke. She's like, Yaz's mom, and he even says he wants to run for president. In 2020, he wants to run against Trump. Because Trump is a character Trump is the president of America in the show. Somebody says something about Trump, and he's like, please don't say that name. They also make a Russia joke. He's like, maybe the spiders are here by the Russians. Maybe the Russians are behind the spiders.
Because for as much as... Because I get the people sometimes when they go, oh, why you gotta like make references like that in Doctor Who? Like, it's not a place for it there. What are you talking about? It's like, but this is stuff that's happening. Like,
yeah.
it
And we have a
sounds
fascist
crazy.
president. How is the Doctor not going to talk about it?
Okay, it sounds crazy in Doctor Who, but you know what? It sounds crazy in reality.
Right, exactly.
It's
Like,
still
how is the Doctor
happening.
not going to talk about it?
Obama was in an episode of Doctor Who.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. The Ed Sheeran joke is funny because she doesn't know the Chris Noth. The Chris Noth character, by the way, his name is Jack Robinson, and he puts a big R on all his buildings in gold. Yep. And, everyone knows who he is. And she's like, I don't know who you are. And he's like, you must be the only person who doesn't know. Everyone knows me. I'm famous. And she goes, are you Ed Sheeran? Everyone's always talking about Ed Sheeran. And he's like, no, I'm not Ed Sheeran. It was a funny bit. And then he says he fired Yaz's mom. She's like, fired Yaz's mom? You can't be president if you fired Yaz's mom. Which was a funny bit. At one point, she calls him dude. And then she looks at the companion and goes, I call people dude now. It was a good episode for like one-liners.
Yeah.
She's very funny. She's really got
really
the
good.
chops. She's already one of my favorites.
She's great. At first she reminded me a lot of Tenet.
Yeah.
But like she's totally come into she's come into her own. Like
yeah. She has a Tenet energy.
Right, she's got the energy.
But she's
even just like in interviews, like she gets it. She knows what's going on.
Yeah. And her we haven't talked about her costume yet. Her costume's awesome. And supposedly inspired by an old image of a suffragette. Her costume is she's wearing slacks that are like high waters, like her shins are showing. She's got boots. She's got suspenders, and then like a t-shirt with like a striped image on it, and then like a large overcoat. It's sort of androgynous. Yeah. And the costume designer, I think, saw an old suffragette image or something, and kind of based it on that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, she's very cool costume. And there's some bit about guns in this.
Oh yeah, because Robertson's the one that shoots.
He's got a gun.
Spider.
Yeah, he makes a funny joke where they're all like, "You can't use a gun," and he's like, "What's wrong with you people? What's wrong with this country? You just pick up a gun and you shoot it. That's how you deal with things." It's a very funny, Americans are fucking savages, because we are. Although there is one thing that made no sense to me, which is in the end, Jack Robinson wants to shoot the giant spider. Mm-hmm. And the Doctor's plan is to
kill the spiders humanely.
But listen, the Doctor's plan is get them into the panic room, then lock them in, and then they'll starve to death. How is that more humane than shooting them?
Right. No, that's the question I had as well.
It doesn't make sense.
Either way, the plan is to kill the spiders.
Right. How is starving them slowly better than shooting them. It's just because
especially
wanted.
because then she feels like pity for the big spider.
Right. Because the big spider can't breathe. It's grown so big it can't breathe.
Yeah, so it's like, I feel so bad. We can't kill you humanely. Like,
Yeah. It was just because we wanted to make the joke about the guns, or we wanted to make the statement about the guns and the Americans with the guns. Chris Noth was funny. I thought he was a really good guest star.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see an American guest star. It's been a while since you had an American guest star.
Yeah, I can't remember the last.
Yeah, me neither. I'm trying to think now.
It's definitely been American.
Yeah, there has been, but it's usually British stars.
Yeah, it's usually James Corden or.
Yeah. Hey, do you think Ryan and Yaz are gonna hook up? Is that something they're aiming towards? Because it's not obvious, but there's little bits of like cuteness there.
I think so. I think they're playing the long game with them because I think they want a romance.
Yeah.
But I think that it would be wrong to, and this sounds so not progressive at all, but I think it would be so wrong to have the Doctor get into a romance.
Yeah, and really no other Doctor besides David Tennant ever did.
Yeah.
The Doctor doesn't really do that. David Tennant was a very special thing, which in some ways has ruined modern people's expectation of it.
Right, because they're like, when are we going to get something like Rose?
Yeah, like the Doctor, that was a unique thing. Like, yeah, you don't want her getting together with Graham. You don't want her getting together with anybody.
Yeah, and also, like, by the way, for as much as people like the Doctor and Rose, it almost ruined him and Donna.
Right.
And completely ruined him and Martha.
Yeah.
Because most of Martha's storylines were still like in the shadow of.
Yeah, Martha loved him, but he didn't like her back.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of hanky-panky going on in the TARDIS back in those days. Yeah. Although with Moffat, he did have Matt Smith kiss a lot of people. Like Amy kisses him, but they're more of like a father-daughter relationship, which is weird.
Yeah, she kissed him, and then he like shut it down right away.
Right, but they wanted the kiss for the trailer.
Right.
They wanted to show, like, even at one point, Clara kisses him again for the trailer.
Yeah, but where the Doctor romance works good is I think with something like River Song.
Right, where she's a sort
like
of repeating
ships
character
passing in the night, but like we have a complicated romantic relationship. Like, I wouldn't mind if River Song popped up.
Yeah.
I started kissing Jodie Whittaker.
IO9 has started referring to the Doctor as they and them in articles. What do you think of that?
Interesting.
I personally have no problem saying she or her, because the Doctor's not a real person, so the Doctor doesn't have to, the Doctor hasn't said what pronouns she wants, but it is interesting. It is an interesting choice to do that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I think that's... Anyone who's not fine with it, what's your problem?
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. It's an interesting choice because is the Doctor transgendered, or is the Doctor just changed her gender? Or what, how do we see it?
Well, the way I see it is that the Doctor is gender fluid.
Right.
And that because...
her gender doesn't mean much. Like, she's become a woman, and she doesn't seem to give a shit, really.
Right. Her gender means as much in the sense of the context of whatever time she goes into.
Right.
Like, if she's going back to the 1950s, I have a feeling they're going to refer to themselves as she.
That hasn't happened yet. We haven't seen an episode where she's gone back in time where she's dealt with sexism.
I feel like it's going to happen.
I feel like, it's got to happen at some point. By the way, what did you think? There was an amazing shot in episode 4 where you see the time tunnel, but then the TARDIS goes through the time tunnel, and then you see like this giant like void where there's a bunch of different tunnels, like, and you can go in either one of them. You've never seen that before. That was almost so like, well, like that's what it looks like when the Doctor's traveling. It's like this big like hallway
network
that you can go anywhere. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I love that. And so the episode ends with the companions deciding to go with the Doctor. They want to see more. Graham doesn't want to just sit around mourning his wife. Ryan and Yaz want to just see more of the universe. And the Doctor says, I can't guarantee that I'll protect you, which usually the Doctor says. But then the Doctor says something that I thought was kind of unique. The Doctor says, you won't come back the people you're leaving as. Which I can't remember any other time the Doctor has said that exactly.
Yeah, no, the doctor's always just been like, yeah, come on. Let's
I'll
have
take
an
you right back
adventure.
5 minutes after I left you.
Yeah.
And this doctor seems,
A lot more cautious.
yeah, and more aware of like, yeah, the adventures you're going to go on are going to change you.
And maybe they'll change for the better. Maybe they won't. Or maybe one of you will die or maybe two of you will fall in love and then get stuck in a weird vortex where you're constantly getting older.
Oh, like Amy and Rory?
Yeah.
I actually, no, it'd be great if at the end of their run, they just drop them off and no one dies and they just do it like the old school. Like, you know what I mean? Like with Moffat, it was always like some big, huge thing and
something's got to happen.
The companion's going to die. And
yeah, Clara's got to get her own TARDIS with the girl from Game of Thrones. And
yeah, I always forget about that cheat. She dies, but then she's existing in the moment before she died forever.
So they pull her out. And then
but
she doesn't remember the doctor.
All right. Anyway.
But she's also the most important woman in the world.
Right.
So she jumps into his timeline and saves him.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are the first 4 episodes. Vin, in a couple months, I'd love for you to come back and talk about the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you hear no Christmas special this year? But we're getting a New
Year's special. I love
Which
it.
I'm all for. Like,
I actually like that more because I'm always home on New Year's Eve like a sad sack.
Yeah,
now I got something to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a weird thing
And
because
the
I
Christmas
see people upset that there's no Christmas special. It's like, but it's still a holiday special.
Right.
It's still in that.
And the problem with the Christmas special is sometimes they're good, but sometimes they get so maudlin. And that's the problem with Christmas specials is they can get very like fucking, mushy. And, some of the Christmas specials during the Moffat era were like the one that was the Lion, the Doctor, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or whatever the fuck that one was. That one was awful. That may be my least favorite episode of all time.
Yeah, let's do let's do a sidebar. Best, because as the holiday season is fast approaching, best and worst Doctor Who Christmas specials.
Oh fuck. David Tennant is introduced in a Christmas special, and that might be my favorite. Either that or the first Matt Smith one where it's like Scrooge and he keeps going back and trying to.
Yeah.
That's I think my favorite. What about you?
That's pretty good. Even though some people have big issues with this choice, I kind of like the David Tennant one where it's him and Kylie Minogue. Titanic. Yeah,
that's a great one. Oh, that one has one of my favorite moments when they're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Who am I? I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 900 years.
Yeah.
I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation Castorus. I'm going to save everyone on this ship."
And then angels lift him up.
Yeah.
A Jesus analogy.
Because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I hope this didn't bore you to death. If you're not a Doctor Who fan, if you're not, go
watch it.
Go and watch it. It's the time to watch it.
What are you doing right now in your bubble bath listening to podcasts?
Bubble bath.
Bubble bath. Oh, take a bubble
bath.
Bubble bath.
Guys, thanks for listening. See you next week. I'm Mike Bongiorno. This is PCMC. That's Vin Forte. You can catch him online.
Follow me on Twitter at MightyVin. Listen to Anytime Vin Forte podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, the whole 9. Check out a show I help out and do some writing for. Special About Brett Davis airs Wednesday nights at 11 on MNN in Manhattan. If you're in the New York City area, check it out. And full episodes also on YouTube. So
and while you're checking out his stuff, check out PCMC, subscribe, share with your friends. PCMC, we're for the people.
There you go.
Let's go bye-bye.